Alright, I'll catch you up on where I'm at right now. This is Carl's turbine, and it's on this little wooden base. Carl, when you come and get it, bring a few sandbags, and I think what we'll do is take the generator out and put it separate, and then we can turn the turbine upside down and slide it over this the wooden center here, and that will lower the center of gravity, and you put the sandbags around the bottom of it, and it should ride pretty well in the back of your truck to get it all the way back down to South Texas. Carl's probably 400 or 500 miles away from me, but he's still local in Texas miles. But that one's ready to go. Now Carl had me get the generator, and so this, since he's picking it up, we don't have to worry about shipping. I've got two other projects that I'm working on, one going to Canada and one going to California, and these guys already had them order their generators directly from Missouri Wind and Solar, so their Freedom 2s are already where they're supposed to be, and that way I don't have to worry about shipping. It saves them money, and since the shipping is included in the price in the generator, I guess they don't charge for shipping. So, well, they may have to Canada, I'm not real sure. You know, the reason Carl's turbine is on a little wooden stand, he didn't need a base. He's going to be mounting his turbine on a something like a flagpole. He showed me a picture of what he intends to do with a hinge plate at the bottom and some kind of hydraulic or some kind of lift, and I think I'm going to use that idea and make a modification to the little stand I used to hold this as I built it, and make my own little mechanism. I've thought about cables and cranks, but I think the idea he came up with would work better for what I'm doing right now. Also, if you can see that this thing is a lot longer, or a foot longer than the original ones. The bottom of the blade is 1 foot lower than the old ones. This is where it used to cut off, and that's the old length of the blade is right there at that point. So these are a foot longer, which doesn't put the generator in the middle of the turbine, but it does push it up in there a little bit more, and that should be easier on the bearings. So I'm looking forward to seeing the performance on that. I'm hoping that Carl will keep in touch and let me know how it serves him. Now Peter's in Canada, and this is Peter's getting his stuff in pieces. What he has is a mast already, or some kind of a pole. It has a big plate that on the top of the pole, and so he had me make an adapter plate to go from his great big plate to something that will hold the Freedom 2. And this is what I came up with. So it's just a 10-inch round plate with holes drilled in the right places. So it's slightly different. The drawing that he gave me was not symmetrical, and it also had 3/4 inch holes on these parts. I don't think we need 3/4 inch holes, so I made these 3/8. These are 3/8 as well. So when you're mounting this on the top of your pole, make sure get all your bolts in at one time, because the edge of the plate goes right by where the bolts are for the Freedom 2. So So you have your spacers. And this is bolts to your pole, and then you have your spacers over the holes for the Freedom 2, and then these are the bolts that will fasten the Freedom 2 to the plate. And if you notice, I've ground off one part of the heads of this, so that this side will go against the plate that's on the pole, and so that you put them in through the holes from the bottom, making sure that that ground off edge is against the plate that's underneath. And so that should be good placement for all 4 bolts, and then the generator goes down on that and fastens down. So I've got nuts and washers here for attaching the plate to the top of the pole, but I don't have the bolts yet, and I'm going to try and get those later on this afternoon when I have a chance to get away from here for a little bit. And once I have that all together, then I'll send it to you. So that's where we are on Peter's adapter plate. Now, Doug out in California is wondering where I am on his, and Doug has ordered his Freedom 2. This is a regular Freedom PNG. The bolt pattern's the same as the Freedom 2. It's just shorter because this is only a single core, but I can use that as a model. Just imagine if that was a Freedom 2, it's going to be up here, you know, it's twice as thick. So for Doug, I've got your mounting bracket ready. Still have to get the paint. I'm having a hard time finding infantry blue in a spray can. If you find it, let me know, or send it to me. I've got your center tube done. I've got your plates. These are the mounting rings that the shoot. Yeah. All right. These are the mounting rings that your blade's attached to, and believe it or not, the stuff that I've got down here takes the most time because I have to actually set up a machine. I don't have a CNC. I have to actually move the tooling around. So if I'm using a vise, bolt it down, and this is where I hold the nut so I can tap it. Then my index, that's the indexing head, so it holds the parts if I have to do 4 equally spaced holes. So I have to mount that up on the mill, and I turn the crank. I get the holes exactly where they're supposed to be. So there was 8 holes in this. I had to be drilled, and then you have the drills, and these pieces, your holes in these pieces have to be drilled out, and then all of the holes in each of these plates, have to drill those and tap them. So that's a lot of work, and the center tube takes 2 days to make, and it's mainly because of the stainless steel nut. So I have stainless steel nut takes a little time. I mean, to just leave that little lip that sticks out there that goes inside the face of the generator, I have to remove a lot of material to be able to make that, and I prefer it being in one piece instead of I used to have another piece that I would cut to slip in there, and I don't like that as much as I like this, but that takes a while to make these things. So but anyway, this is where I am on that. I do have I've got two different sizes of thickness of materials. This is would be 40 thousandths thick, and this makes the top and bottom parts of each blade, and these are the long length of the blade. These are 35 thousandths of an inch, so I try and make it as thin as I can get it. And I've got these, I don't know if you can see that, I've got the scribed into each of the pieces the width that I have to cut them. So I have to cut these into 6-inch long strips, or 6-inch wide strips down the length of them. So they're 48 inches long, these 6-inch wide, and that's where the blade will be cut out of each of the 6-inch wide pieces. So it's a process, and it'll take a little while. Now I'm going to mount, as I get the blades to a certain point where I can start attaching them to the rings, I'll mount that out here on this base. Now I built this for Carl in South Texas, but he is going to do something different. He doesn't need this because he's going to do that. And that gave me an idea, and I'm going to, when I have the money, I want to buy a screw jack, and I'll be welding it. I'll weld part of it down here, and then the other part of the screw jack will be mounted somewhere on here. So it'll be a side crank. So it should be able to, it'll work a lot like the jack on the front of a tongue of a trailer, except instead of the screw being right on top, it's on the side. And I think that'll make that a pretty cool contraption. Yep, I'm looking forward to getting the jack so I can try that. Anyway, that's where we are, and sorry about that. Now Doug is asking me about an estimated time, and if it was in the spring or the fall, early spring, early fall, where it was not so hot out here, I would say give me 2 weeks. But right now it's summertime. We're into almost the end of June, coming up on July 1st in just a day or two, and it's hot in here. It's about noon right now. Let's see. Yeah, okay, 141, 142, 41. So it gets pretty doggone hot, and it's kind of rough on this old man. When I was younger, heat didn't bother me so much. Now I've got this side, I've got remnants of the insulation work I did on the inside of the building, inside of that building, inside of that building. Downstairs I redid the walls, and it never had insulation in it before, but it has some of this stuff right now. This is rigid foam, like this stuff here, with the shiny back. So you put the shiny up and leave the white side down, and it makes a difference. It's just 102. Just only 102 compared to the 140 over here. So I'm very much looking forward to getting the whole inside of the garage insulated, and that way I can be out here all day long. But if it takes me a little bit longer to get this turbine out, have pity, because I'm just trying to avoid a stroke. So now if you want to see how I make the blades, I can show you how I made the ones for Carl, and that'll free me up to go ahead and just focus on getting the blades done for Doug. So enjoy. Talk to you later. The little shop, I may have given the impression that this is an actual business, but it's more of a hobby that wants to be a business. It's a hobby that actually pays for itself sometimes by making these little turbines. Now, it's kind of a kinetic art that serves more of a purpose, because it actually generates electricity when the wind blows, which it's not right now, you can see by the trees. But this is 36 inches tall, and I've been wanting to go 48. I purchased this a few years ago. It's a box brake, and it will bend a piece 48 inches long. But since I've never made one of these before, I got to make sure that it's going to work before I start cutting the rest of the pieces. Maybe some changes I have to make, but this is the first one. And let's see, I'll have to bend that, and I'm going to start off with the first bend, and I'll let you see that. This first bend is only about a quarter of an inch wide, and this is just to reinforce the edge of the blade. These blades look tricky to be on both ends of this at the same time. So just a little bit sticking out. That's about a quarter of an inch goes the length of the blade, and that adds a little bit of rigidity to the outside edge. And I just want to bend that a little bit. Just a little bit, and of course there's going to be two more bends on there too. This is just to strengthen this outside edge, and then I'm going to put the camera down so I can get on with it. Maybe we'll go ahead and put Carl's generator on his mast so we have some place to put the blades as we get them complete. Maybe we'll go ahead and get the rings on there as well. Well, it's Sunday. It's kind of a lazy day, but earlier today I was out here bending blades, bending pieces for the blades, getting ready to rivet everything together. And the weatherman said it was going to rain today, 60% chance of rain. And so I got to this point where all the parts are bent. I just have to rivet them together. And so I just went ahead and shut things down and went inside where I could relax a little bit and have a little bit of a nice little Father's Day. And it started raining, and we saw clouds. Well, actually, it started watching the clouds going round in circles right in front of the building, looking out the front door. And then the rain came and the wind came, and everything was just flying all over the place, and the turbine was spinning like crazy. But if you look at the scene right before this, there was a canopy right here. This is one of the legs of the canopy, and there's the rest of it. So the wind can be pretty rough. So looks like yeah, leg just ripped off. I'm gonna have to see if I can weld that back together again. I need my canopy. It gets awful hot here in Texas, so, and I've still got a lot of work to do inside the garage, but turbine survives pretty well. Canopies don't. Oh well. The canopy's back up and making shade, and I didn't weld it. I just used one of my favorite TV personalities' suggestion, and got the Handyman's secret weapon, duct tape. Now, this whole project has been a series of trying to remember. Problem is I only built one turbine with the braces, the aluminum braces, and that's been a few years ago, 3 years ago I think. So trying to remember how I did that, but we're almost to the point where we're riveting these in place. I just have to get the get a 1/4 inch hole drilled through that so we can mount the wire keeper. And the wire keeper also helps hold that brace in that place. So we're getting close to the end of this project, and I'm looking forward to it. Here's the very first long blade. It's just one foot longer. Still basically very similar to the old blade, except it extends down past the end where it normally cut off right here where the rivets are. So, ta-da! Not that big a deal, I know. Well, let's see what it looks like on the thing. This doesn't have all of its blades on yet, so it doesn't know quite what to do. The blade design, the shape of the blade is wrong for a 3-bladed turbine. 3-blade can be a whole lot faster. 3-blade can be a lot faster than 12-blade, but this blade has to be shaped right, and these are shaped for the 12-blade system. So in a future video I'm going to do one of these, but it's going to be a 5-blade, and I'll show you the difference of the shape of the blade. It may take a little more wind to get it started, but once it starts it will chop up the air real quick. So anyway, I was hoping I'd be able to show it to you spinning, because as soon as I turn the camera off, it'll. Yeah, the problem is that the little one is up just a little bit higher than this. I've still got this 8-foot fence blocking a lot of that, but I think that'll take off once the rest of the blades are on there. Yeah, when I'm putting these things together, I like to put them together equal. So I try 3 blades, and I do 6. Can't do 9 because it would be unbalanced. The next step is 12, but it seems to be trying to work with just 6. Very light breeze. There goes the one on the roof. it's encouraging. I'm gonna have to take it, bring it down, and add 6 more blades, and then I can set it up and see what it looks like with 12. Hopefully we get some breeze later so I can check that out too. Well, there it is with 12 blades. I still have to put the wire in to as the brace, but that's it. Just about done. It is awful heavy. So I'm going to do the wiring now. I like to put it down on the ground where it's easy to work on. Now here's the top all wired and tightened up. Okay, now here's the bottom before the wire. This is going to be a little bit more tricky because it's kind of way down there, but we'll manage. But the first thing I have to do is go through and measure between each of the points, and then divide that total by 12, and that'll tell me exactly what spacing they're supposed to be. The top was 205.5 millimeters, and I'm hoping the bottom is going to be something very close to that. 205.6. So that's pretty close. So I had to make a little note. Where'd I put it? Here we go. 205.5 for the top and 205.6 on the bottom. That's pretty close. Half a millimeter off. Whew. Damn, I'm good. Now the wire's in. Time to screw it back on to the generator and let it stand up and see what it looks like up in the air. That's it. By the time I do this video, I will have already called Carl to pick up his turbine. Just in case I forgot to call, Carl, your turbine's ready, man. big wind. Wind's coming from the south, and the south is that direction. Wonder what the neighbor would think if I cut his tree down.